Oh, hi. You're probably familiar with the modern automatic dustpan for central vacuums. Very convenient for quick broom cleanups, but I bet you haven't met its granddaddy. This is a Spencer Vacuslot, a 1950s innovation that came about when more hard surface flooring was coming in to be installed in public buildings, and dust mopping became the standard way to clean those floors. This is a plate, aluminum plate with a cast iron kind of bowl fixture underneath connected to the vacuum system, and it had a slot that you would lift out with a tool, and then you would run the dust mop over the slot with the vacuum system running to clean the debris from the bottom of the mop. Now the closest thing I have to a dust mop is this California car duster, so I'll demonstrate. Now this particular type of Vacuslot also included a round inlet plug that you could remove and connect the hose to use it as a more typical central vacuum system. So these were advertised through the 1950s in different publications. I have a collection of literature here. So here's a nice diagram showing the vacuum producer and the separator with piping to a Vacuslot on a main floor and a pipe going to Vacuslots on upper floors, as well as one in the ground, and it's specifying copper tubing in the ground so that it wouldn't corrode. Read about, see the Spencer Vacuslot, the truly modern cleaning system. Okay, new 20-minute color movie shows typical Spencer vacuum systems in operation. I don't know if I'll ever come across one of these, but boy, how cool would that be? Not only to find that, on the reels, but then to get it on the internet to share with the world. I don't know, maybe it was kind of lame. Who knows what the production values would have been in such a video. And I love that late 40s, early 50s Spencer logo. In fact, I've got one up there. This shows the central vacuum system, a portable vacuum, the Vacuslot using a small dust mop, and of course the Orgablow, which was how Spencer got its start. Here's a spec sheet showing that they made them square and round, with and without an inlet valve. They also made a little compact one, which is kind of cool, and I don't know how they would have installed that in the bowl-shaped rough-in that this had. So this would have been really, really interesting to see in use, and actually very, very useful. I mean, think about how you clean a dust mop now. There's no good way to do it. This would have been tremendously handy. And in fact, they were installed in quite a few schools and dormitories and public buildings. And they show it cleaning erasers here because, in fact, one of the common sort of unexpected uses for a traditional central vacuum with wall inlets in a school was that they would just open the inlet flap and run the erasers over that to clean the chalk dust. Of course, now the chalkboards and erasers are long gone. Probably even the whiteboards and markers are gone, and it's all something digital now. I haven't been in a school recently, and I barely paid attention when I was there. And this is again calling out VacuFlo fittings, because at the time, those fittings made by HP VacuFlo, that was their name for these fittings. They weren't yet using that name for their own residential central vacuum. This shows how to wire the switches with indicator lights. And they're showing the sizing. 1 or 2 Vacuslots give you a 3 horsepower unit, 3 through 10 a 5 horse, and for bigger systems a 7.5 or 10 horse. And it's recommending different graduated pipe sizes based on the length and the number of operators to be in use. And they did have quite a few ads showing different buildings which had installed the system. Here's one for MSU. Maryville College of the Sacred Heart, St. Louis, Missouri. Marion College, Indianapolis, Indiana. Another one for MSU. Wow, are they excited about their new Vacuslot system? I would be too. Madonna College. What does that say? Duggan Junior High School, Springfield, Massachusetts. Flint Municipal Center. McPherson Community Health Center in Howell, Michigan. Jesse Jones Hall in Houston, Texas. And one last interesting thing, so that you've probably seen my previous video, maybe. Go watch it if you haven't, come on. Showing the relationship between HP products, the development of their central vacuum, and their longtime collaboration with Spencer Turbine. So this is a screenshot from an HP VacuFlo history presentation, and one of the things you'll see, in addition to their period power units, the smaller one and the big commercial one, and hoses and tools and inlets, so that appears to be a round plate in a floor with joists, looking suspiciously like my little mock-up here. I wonder if they were offering Spencer Vacuslots at the time as an accessory to a VacuFlo system. Now they're showing it in their industrial units, so I doubt that any of these made it into residences, but perhaps. So how did I get this one? This one and another much poorer condition example came from what had been a dormitory building at a women's college in Milwaukee. And the building was being renovated, is being renovated, and it was a Facebook Marketplace ad. All I saw was the picture of the machine, which is a 5-horse vacuum producer. And I went there finally and just said, let me check out what they've got. And I found 2 Vacuslots with a system that had been capped off in other areas, so I have a feeling that there had been more at one time. And it appeared, so the unit was disconnected. This, by the way, is from about 1960. The unit was disconnected. There had been some water damage. The bucket was full of water. It was a mess. And these, in investigating them further, which were a bear to get out of the concrete floor, by the way, these had gotten clogged and then of course stopped working, and unfortunately nobody had ever, or they had stopped maintaining them. So rather than just unclogging the thing and continuing to use it, it was abandoned. And that's really a shame, because the new purpose of this building is going to be a senior living center, and they could actually use I mean, any building with hard floors, you have this already. They would have gotten use out of it had anybody known. But by the time that general contractor became involved, his task was just to get everything out of this boiler room so the new equipment can go in. I'm taking this apart to show you something interesting on the inside. So on the underside you can see the slot, the inlet valve plug, and this bowl seals, this inner bowl or inner baffle seals to the inside of the enclosure, and I'll show you that. I'll turn it on again. So even though it's removable, the suction opening to the system does not directly communicate with the underside of this slot. That was an early version, and then they made this change for some reason, and in operation, the way this sits together, your inlet plug goes in and restricts that opening. So I think for whatever reason they didn't want the full force of the vacuum producer. They didn't want it to run wide open. Maybe that was for noise, just so this thing didn't sound like a howling wind inside of a quiet hospital hallway, let's say. Maybe it was to take care of the potential to overload the vacuum producer, because you know these things, they're not supposed to run wide open. You have to have a little resistance on there. But either way, what had happened, because in this case, when I got this, the slot came out fairly easily, so this had obviously been used quite a bit. This was a bear to get out, and I have a feeling that this hose receptacle had never ever been opened, which meant that over time debris just got packed around that annular opening, and without removing this, that it could have unclogged itself, and without taking this apart to see what was going on with it, it just got clogged. They stopped using it, and that's kind of a shame. So this would be an awesome thing to have in any modern building. I mean, any building with hard floors is dust mopped basically. It doesn't get vacuumed. The floors all get dust mopped, but the dust mops are always a nuisance to clean. And this would be an awesome thing, but unfortunately their sales volume must have gotten to such a point where the Vacuslot is not even made by Spencer anymore. So what you're seeing here is, you may come across one in a floor in some public building somewhere. The only other Vacuslot system that I've ever come in contact with was at a convent, a building as part of a Catholic school and church, and the building where the nuns lived had this Vacuslot system with another 5-horse Spencer machine in it, and I got a call to service it. They had an electrical switching issue, and when the superintendent said, "We got to get this thing fixed because the sisters all love it. They want to get it fixed." And I didn't know it was a Vacuslot system, so I was envisioning these little old nuns schlepping vacuum hoses everywhere, and this was what they had. So anyway, I'm so pleased to finally have my own Vacuslot. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it besides this, but I hope you've enjoyed learning about it, and as always, I thank you for watching.